Happy Father's Day to the moms that are dads like me and the dads that are dads. And happy Father's Day to my dad and John's grandpa. Okay, so I'm going to put time codes in the description if you guys want to jump around. This is a long one. Hi, my friends. I thought we were going to be done with New Jersey. I was like taking a few days to regroup and oh my goodness, I got inundated with all this gossip. And I was like, what is happening out there? Do we ever sleep? Anyway, I apologize for my hair. I'm doing a treatment. So, it's a cheapy one, rosemary oil. But anyway, I'm doing it. So I wanted to just make this video really quick for you guys. I know so much is bothering both the Teresa fans and the Melissa fans right now. So I'm going to tell you two sides of a story. And then I'm going to tell you some inside stuff that I found out. And then you guys can see how you feel about it because I'm not here to convert you. I'm just here to tell you. Okay? So let's do it. So I know you guys are impatient. So let me tell you what I'm going to cover. I'm going to tell you what Andy Cohen said he received from Dietl. I'm going to play Dietl's threat to Joe Gorga. I'm going to show the intel that Louis Ruelas dropped about Thea. I'm going to tell you the narrative that Louis told about Thea and where he's coming from because it didn't play out on the reunion. We kind of alluded to it on Tuesday night, but I'm going to tell you what his narrative is, what his story is on that. I'm going to tell you Alyssa's story on that with Louis. I'm going to then tell you Thea's position on it all. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening with Melissa Gorga and a little bit about what's happening with Teresa and all that. Oh, and John Fuda, I'm going to tell you what's been going around about him post MVP status of part 3 of Real Housewives of New Jersey Reunion. And then hopefully we can put this down for a minute. Goodness gracious. Oh, I'm going to also talk about how DMS is being delisted. Yeah. What else? I think that's it for now. That's a good video. So Dietl decides to kind of get mafiosa about all of this Real Housewives of New Jersey stuff. We know Louis Ruelas is best friends with Dietl. But anyway, he writes Andy Cohen. So let me go ahead and play it for you.
Again? No way. So I just want to say on his behalf, he said, I never did any investigations on the cast of the Housewives of New Jersey. I never said that I didn't do any other investigations for Louis. Okay? So he's saying that Louis didn't hire him to investigate the cast of the Housewives of Jersey. So that's a very specific thing he's saying. He's not saying he doesn't have, that's a specific thing. He was like not officially hired. He was not officially hired to investigate. Right. Yes. So I just wanted to say that. Did you see any of the Jersey reunion last night?
I watched the whole thing.
Wow. What did you think?
Stayed up late.
I thought it was like early seasons of Jersey.
I thought it was great. I thought you were really good handling it, bringing stuff. I've said this to you recently, a good job of letting them say what they need to say, but also you need to show the frustration that you feel. It would be really awkward if you didn't.
He's talking about when Andy yelled.
A good job of not.
Sure, he got a little backlash on that.
Making it about you. I don't know. I think you did a really great job. It was what I was saying to a caller earlier is I have two theories. One of them is I think that Louis hired a local community theater writer to write him one-liners in case he didn't know what to say. He could say in due time, "You'll find out." Yeah, he was saying the shit.
Were wild.
But they were so stupid.
Right.
And I also think, this is a more sad, I think that Teresa knows deep down that she married the worst person in the world. And that's what's coming out a little bit. I think deep down, she doesn't want to admit it, but I think that's why she's so upset, to be totally honest. He's the worst person I think ever to be on a housewife show.
Ooh, there's a lot of tea in that. So John usually is very conscious to sort of talk to Andy in a way that he knows Andy is going to receive what he's saying. And I found it very interesting that John felt like he could say to Andy that he's the worst housewife husband he's ever had and bring up the threats and all this stuff and not be concerned that Andy Cohen was going to get upset because Teresa's his golden girl usually. And Andy is usually quite protective of housewives when they're, being dragged and they're his favorites, which Teresa has been in the past. So I think that this is an indicator, as mentioned in the live, that you could anchor some thoughts in, that Andy is pretty sick of Louis Ruelas. I think the threats, the mafia threat type thing that Louis was doing, and the fact that so many people have turned and told bad stories about Louis is starting to penetrate Andy Cohen, even though Teresa's his favorite. Really, he said it, my third favorite of all time. It's a huge thing to say from daddies. Daddies. So weird. Okay, let's move on. Let's listen to what Dietl said to Joe Gorga. Okay, so the person I think who originally posted it was Erica, just to say it, okay? I don't know who Erica is, but it's Erica. God bless Erica, whoever you are. All right, ready? Listen.
I got to clean up a little homework here. Because yesterday I read something, and I'm going to say it on your show. That little midget, the housewives of New Jersey, will put this to bed today. All of a sudden, this little punk Joe Gorga comes out, and he has something to say to me that I lied about. I did investigations on the cast members again. I'm telling you right now, Joe, I saw you in Avra. I told you and your wife I did not do that. As far as me doing any other personal investigations for Lou other than the cast members, that's none of your business, you little punk. And I tell you what, if you call me a liar and you want to have a problem with me, I don't think you want me after you. Because I tell you right now, Joe, I'll do the investigation on you for free by me. I don't need Lou to pay for it. You better know who you're talking to. I'm not one of those little pumps
Aren't you sure you didn't do that
you might go in the
already?
gym there, watch your little muscles, but muscles doesn't give somebody balls, okay? So you want to play with me? I tell you what, why don't you ask some of your friends about me? I'm the wrong guy you mess with, okay? And let's leave.
We're going to leave that at that.
I got to clean up a little.
The little Eric at the end eating oranges. I love it. Well, I certainly think it's very strange that Dietl got this worked up over the Gorgas and what they said. I would think he would be more concerned about being associated with some of the things that are going down with Louis Ruelas, but we'll get to that in a minute, okay? I want to table that for a second. To be fair, Dietl seems to be somewhat of a gangster in the way that he's talking. I have to take that away from this. Like, he's talking very threatening and like, I'll dig up dirt on you. It's just very unusual behavior. Maybe not in New Jersey, but generally speaking, even billionaires who hire PIs, they don't talk about it like that. They do their dirt look and they use the intel secretly to their advantage. They don't make open threats. That's kind of a mob thing. It's what it sounds like. Sorry, just saying. Okay, so this then happens. Roxanne from All About the Truth, the podcast and the website, said, John Fuda's son's birth mom speaks out. If I had spoken to Louis Ruelas, I would have given him an earful if he wanted some dirt. So this is interesting that this is coming out against John Fuda, who took on Louis Ruelas. So I wonder how this woman, I guess she was watching the reunion in prison. Anyway, what this article says, Brittany says she's astonished by the entire situation, calling it petty, explaining this is typical of John. He used to do things like this all the time, and it was so embarrassing. If I had spoken to Louis, I would have given him an earful if he wanted some dirt. Clearly, that wasn't how this went down. Brittany reveals she watched the reunion and thought it was a joke, explaining I was argue about the whole thing on the reunion. I had to ask myself, is this real life? I think it's a joke. It can't be for real. Brittany is eligible for release in September and plans to hire a lawyer to fight for custody. With John Fuda being so vocal at the reunion, we received a blind that may explain why John Fuda changed his last name and the dirt his ex Brittany is referring to. Oh, they said this. After sharing the blind, All About the Truth readers found that John Fuda allegedly was charged with a felony that may have been expunged, while a Twitter user shared that people in town are aware of this, saying, quote, he and his ex were hardcore druggies. They stole from family and he was turning her out. Thank God his family stepped in and saved him. Too bad they didn't help his ex, who ended up in prison. This is the DM they received. Keep anonymous, please. I listened to your podcast and am a big fan. I know you were talking about John Fuda changing his last name and something else having to be behind the name change. There's more to the story. John was arrested and I think he tried to get it off record, but you can still find it online. That's the real reason he changed his last name. He has been wanting to come on the show and didn't want that traced back onto him. So then the site posts this, and it says it doesn't know what the crime is. It must have gotten expunged. Meaning this is a state crime, and expunged in law means erase or remove completely. And it didn't happen. It's not forgiveness, but it is taking the record and saying you have earned the right to not have this follow you forever until you enter the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Now, this happened right after a lot of fans were calling John Fuda the MVP of the night because he was so set in his ways with his envelope saying, I know for a fact you got in touch with my ex in prison and caused these problems and drama for me and my son, and I don't accept your apology. And no matter how much Louis tried to caress him, he wouldn't move, wouldn't budge. And a lot of people respected that. Unfortunately, Andy Cohen didn't let him show his damn envelope, which would have all allowed this to us to not have to talk about it for the next week after. But because they wouldn't let him open his damn envelope, Margaret couldn't open her envelope, although we know what's in it, I was like, geez, Andy, if people bring envelopes, let them open it, for crying out loud. But anyway, he supposedly had proof in that envelope that Louis indeed did this. So I reached out to John Fuda and asked what was in the envelope, but he didn't respond. What can I do, right? Probably should have responded, but didn't. And of course, it came out what was in Margaret's envelope, which essentially was a Venmo payment to a guy named Todd, who was a publicist, that was paid from Teresa Giudice and Louis Ruelas to Todd, the publicist. And then Todd paid Alyssa $2,500 of that money. Alyssa, the publicist that's name's being thrown around in all of this drama to do with Thea. So that was in the envelope. Also, I guess phone records showing that, a number, Louis Ruelas' number, called her son, and that was who threatened her son. So stuff like that. I guess that was what was in the envelope. And I found out from Bravo Babe, which I did not know, that there also were tabloid letters saying that they had been approached by Louis Ruelas with information, I guess, to drag Marge. So I didn't know that, but Bravo Babe found that out. So good job, Bravo Babe. I'm not going to say what I think. I wanted to say what I think, but I'm going to let you guys just ponder it yourself. You can tell me in the comments what you think. Who cares what I think? Anyway, let's just keep going. So this is now the Fuda's takedown, or someone's attempt at the Fuda's takedown, All About the Truth, delivering the message. Now, Teresa fans should be like, I told you so. John Fuda's out of his mind. Everybody's trying to make Teresa's new man in his beautiful love bubble the fall guy because he's new to the show and he doesn't know what he's doing. And, so the Fudas are liars and I knew it. That's what the Teresa fans are saying. And so that would have been a nice thing to have out there for a while. But then this happened. New York Stock Exchange to commence delisting proceedings with respect to the warrants of Digital Media Solutions. And yes, this is the same DMS that Louis Ruelas is a team member on the website right now. Allegedly, he got removed from the company, but he's still active, and he was a founder, and he's best friends with the guy who owned it, Joe, runs the day-to-day operation, so he's still involved. But needless to say, let's just go down this road for a minute. The New York Stock Exchange announced today that the staff of the New York Stock Exchange regulation is determined to commence proceedings to delist the warrants of Digital Media Solutions, the company. Each whole warrant exercisable for one Class A ordinary share at an exercise price of $11.50. The warrants, ticker symbol DMSWS from the New York Stock Exchange. Trading in the company's warrants will be suspended immediately. Trading in the company's Class A ordinary shares, ticker symbol DMS, will continue on the New York Stock Exchange regulation has determined that the company's warrants are no longer suitable for listing based on abnormally low price levels, pursuant to Section 80201D of the Listed Company Manual. The company has a right to a review of this determination by a committee of the board of directors of the exchange. The New York Stock Exchange will apply to the Securities and Exchange Commission to delist the warrants upon completion of all applicable procedures, including any appeal by the company of the New York Stock Exchange regulation staff's decision. Now, meanwhile, we know that there was a law firm that had a class action lawsuit on behalf of investors against DMS that they were trying to work on and cook up and see if they could give it legs and go ahead and sue on behalf of investors. So maybe they were the ones that alerted the stock exchange, or maybe Margaret Joseph's son, who works in investment banking, didn't like to be threatened by Louis Ruelas, and it wasn't a phone bot or whatever. Give me a break. Phone bots don't call and threaten you. They say things like, "Hi, I am calling from the IRS. You are in trouble. You must call me with your social security number." Okay. Anyway, I'm a terrible robot. But you get the drift. Okay, so basically, what if Margaret's son retaliated and reported, that DMS was working at like a low price point? He maybe took a look at DMS closer and was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of issues with this company on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm going to alert them. And this one stuck, a low price, stock price, too low for this exchange. So, that happened. So some of the Teresa friends sent this to me saying, Dana, I know that, all this horrific stuff has come out about Louis Ruelas and all that, but, please take a look at this, which I always look at both sides. So I said, great, let's see it. So this is from Real Housewives of New Jersey, Fact vs. Lies. My thoughts on the whole PR drama that came out after the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion that's been going around Twitter and Insta. There was a segment on Real Housewives of New Jersey at the reunion that this was brought up, but Bravo didn't air it. A fan account thought her name was going to be mentioned. Bravo doesn't air that stuff or care to air the social media stuff that happens with fan accounts. In my opinion, the account wasn't mentioned, so they teamed up with a PR that was working with Louis for a brief moment to say he wanted to take Margaret down. The PR company was hired to actually help promote his app. Also, it's important to note that Margaret has been in contact with Louis' ex for the last 3 years to bring him down. An ex is an ex for a reason. Margaret is also behind working with this ex to release videos of Louis and always told people ahead of time when videos were going to come out. Only one ex has these videos, and it's the ex that has been talking to Margaret Joseph for the last 3 years. And then this account drags Alyssa's name here, Alyssa Buchter, although oddly doesn't mention Todd's name. Anyway, once a PR tries to put past clients on blast, they lose all credibility. Very unprofessional for PR to be talking to accounts about clients. Well, unless they were paid to. But yes, let me continue. Okay, so the whole post, which it's a cut off a little here. Sorry about that. It says, Alyssa's friends with this account who also messaged Louis Ruelas, here's what she said when she messaged Louis. This account was allegedly paid $500 gift card from Margaret Joseph's, according to the PR Alyssa. Thea writes, "Hi, Louie. I'm a good friend of Melissa Feister on here, and I know Gabriella, and I'm best friend of 30 years to Alyssa Buchter, who is helping you and Trey out with publicity right now. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know I'm here to help. You can trust me. Just ask Lisa Rinna. I helped her once, and I am loyal and trustworthy. My background is I work for Julia Roberts and J-Lo as an executive in script development. I tell stories about that in my highlights. I'll be seeing you at Starland in a few weeks, but in the meantime, tell me what you need out there and I will get it done and nobody will ever trace it back to you. Heart, 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 Thea." Well, you guys know I had Thea on my last 2 lives, right? So I'm her friend, full disclosure. Now, that was basically what Teresa Giudice is very supportive to Louis Ruelas in the Love Bubble, wanted everybody to know. And I think it is so good that they took that position because I would too, from, their perspective. Like, it looks bad, for sure. But I was around when all this stuff happened, so I could pretend like I wasn't, but I was. Instead, let me think, how could I approach this that it would be fair? I know. Let me show you first. Do you remember last live I did with Thea? She mentioned Jennifer Aiden suddenly DM'd her, and she was like, what the hell is this? Well, she sent me the DM. Let me share. Okay, this is what Jennifer Aiden wrote. I think it was Tuesday to Thea. "Hey, babe, what's going on? What's all this info you got?" Look at everybody digging. Ooh, diggy, diggy. Now, you know that the way Marge got all those receipts in her little envelope that she got was because Todd felt so bad about what he was doing towards Margaret when she found out that he handed over all the evidence to her, which then made Louis Ruelas reach out to Alyssa and make her sign a letter saying, that she wasn't paid by him to do anything bad, about Margaret and Walmart and all this stuff. And she did that to try to appease them. Maybe she felt bad too, I don't know. But that happened. So Louis sends the DM that she sent him like a while ago to her, to Thea, yesterday, to say like, "I'm reminding you of what you said to me." Okay. And then Thea does an eye roll. And then Louis says, you're better off doing good out there in the world. Try it. You may feel better while wearing those sunglasses you bought with the bribe money you got from that pig. That pig being Margaret. Pig in all caps.
Poor little piggies.
So then Louis wrote, let's see. "Why did you put that out there about Teresa and I? Between you, me, and the 4 walls, did Margaret ask you to do it? The way you explained this and came at us was something Marge would do. Did she put you up to it in any way? Please be honest. I have a life and busy. I just want to know for myself." Now, this is a very strange DM because he knows damn well that Todd was hired by him and Teresa, and then they hired Alyssa. Okay? So like this, did Margaret put her up to it? No, Margaret didn't put her up to it. I can tell you that 100%. I was around when it was happening. Thea basically was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this information from Alyssa about like having to drag Marge because of like them kind of retaliating on Marge, doing all this bad stuff to them in the previous season. And I don't feel comfortable about it. And I'm going to tell Marge. And I'm like, okay. And then she went and she told Marge. And then her and Marge bonded. Thea and Marge bonded. And Marge was like, thank you so much. And then Marge started contacting Bravo and getting really upset and causing problems and shutting down this whatever Teresa and Louis were doing. By the way, Louis is not lying. He also hired Alyssa to do his son's app, which is an advertising company for people that are off the grid, whatever that means. But that's what it is, advertising for people off the grid. So she was also paid to do that through Todd, not directly, but through Todd, although Louis was talking to Alyssa too, and Todd. And Thea and I were talking the whole time, and Thea was like, I am going to get together with Margaret because I got to get her this pizza oven that I ordered because she was going to use it as like a prop at the reunion. And we're going to get together and hang out. And then I guess that was when Margaret brought a thank you gift of a $500 gift card. And Lord knows what else to Thea. I don't know if there was anything else, but it was definitely a thank you. It was way after the fact. All this shit had already happened. And in fact, in the Patreon, there's proof because I posted it when it happened. I posted what was happening. I said, Margaret isn't poor like everyone thinks because she just bought a kick-ass nice gift for Thea for a thank you. So there you go. And that is dated. So go check that shit out. You can't change it. Okay. So I'm going to get to why Thea was kissing Louis Ruelas' ass in that original DM, which makes it look like, you know, she's on his side when she isn't. But I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay. So this is what Thea was sent by Louis Ruelas. It's a text from Alyssa, and he wanted to make sure that Thea saw it. So Louis Ruelas sends the communication between him and Alyssa to Thea, and it's her post with like the whole story on it. And Louis writes to Alyssa, this is the woman that got the gift card from Margaret. She's slandering me here. And then Alyssa said, I told her to remove it. And by the way, Thea did remove it. And then Louis said, no, that's okay. I think I'm going to sue her and Margaret. She's referencing Walmart. Walmart, my client for years. Oh, so Louis has, I wonder if Ruella la sells at Walmart. Maybe that's the connection.
You know, I'm in this parking lot right now. I'm walking into this building, Ruella, which is right behind me. And it's like, why is it called Ruella? It's a joke. You know, nobody knows that. And like, you know, and my last name is Ruelas. And like all these amazing things I've done, you know, like crazy shit, man, that like all of it together does not amount to what you're doing to me and what you're allowing me to have with you, you know, like it's so special. Some people wake up today feel like I lost $500 million yesterday, and I didn't feel it anywhere in my body. I didn't feel it anywhere in my body. Like I just.
Isn't that so weird? And he doesn't own any part of that company. I'm glad I'm making him cry like that, though. I'm really touching him. So in the beginning, I do believe that Thea would have been willing to make contact with Louis Ruelas and have conversations with him under the guise that she was going to get information and be able to use it on her blog site and also, you know, get the inside scoop from Teresa's side of things. Because Louis Ruelas definitely has his assistant and probably himself, as we've seen, reaching out to people. And that's okay. Like that's, I guess, the way the game is played these days. But the thing is that Thea was really, truly just trying to kind of bait him to talk. And then when he didn't really go for it, she sort of switched head to Margaret because Alyssa was like, well, we want this, we want that. And she's kind of like, wait a minute. Maybe I don't want to do this for Louis. Maybe I want to do this for Margaret instead because Margaret's willing to chat, right? So, and they did. They built a friendship. Not a, you know, great friendship, but like enough. They had lunch, you know. She got a thank you, a chit chat, whatever. And meanwhile, Louis Ruelas was damage controlling this whole thing with Alyssa and Todd because it went pitong. And again, got reported to Bravo and the like. Just saying, doing the Lord's work isn't easy, is it? Thea felt very nervous with this sort of interaction she was getting with Louis Ruelas. It was just very strange. Needless to say, Andy Cohen is going to find out about all this. So this isn't going to help the reunion that was already a cluster where I started out this video with, unfortunately. Now, where's Melissa Gorga in all this? So as I mentioned on my live the other day with Thea, The house that Teresa lives in is owned by an LLC that was bought before they got married. And of course, there's no prenup. And originally, Teresa's name was listed as, like, I guess, a member in this LLC. And then it got removed and it only was Louis Ruelas left. Now, I don't know for sure that that was true because I never saw the pre-corporate, document that showed that Teresa Giudice was indeed a member ever on this company. But that's what people claim. They saw her name on it and then it was off it right before the wedding. In fact, like the day before. And allegedly people close to Teresa's camp noticed it, not people outside of Teresa's camp, people in Teresa's camp. And so it kind of bothered them a little. Now, Teresa has said she's put no money in this house. The fans are like, she didn't put any money in, so who cares, And I don't know, what I would say to that. Maybe it doesn't matter in New Jersey and you get 50-50 anyway after a certain period of time. I don't know. But I'm not a divorce attorney in New Jersey. But needless to say, it shocked people. I'll leave it there. So meanwhile, Melissa says she's never heard of Behind the Velvet Rope podcast, insults David. And then David calls Melissa, see you next Tuesday, and upsets the fans because he used the word see you next Tuesday, and I think he was very derogatory. So they got upset with David for saying those things. I wonder if the fans got upset when PK called me that like 100 times on his Instagram. But anyway, from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But you know what I'm saying? So that was what that whole thing was about. And then I guess Melissa's been doing very positive, uplifting stuff on her social. So she's showing like her daughter going to prom and they just did a new pool in their backyard. And so Melissa's just taking this different approach to the situation at this point. She's sort of ignoring Teresa. She's just going to show how great her life is. And that's her take. I cannot wait to read the comments of this video. I will be having a glass of water and shades on when I read them. But what I wanted to tell you is what I would do in this situation. Can I pretend I'm Andy Cohen for a second? This would be my idea. I would give Melissa Gorga, Joe Gorga, and all the house husbands that are friends with Joe Gorga a spin-off show with the Gorgas. And like, let's watch the Melissa's family, interact, and her friends that she's been hanging out with in, the lake or whatever. I heard she's been making friends with some rich girls over at that New Jersey lake. I don't know what the hell's that name of that lake, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So let's see what some of those friends and her hang out. And also Frank Catania has a place over there. He's friends with Joe. Joe has his clique. So we could watch that. Then we leave Teresa, who's the OG, on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. And we bring in some more new people on that show. And we get, and we keep the New Jersey franchise alive. It was her sort of beginning. She's the OG. She's been on it for years. It really does predominantly, talk about her. So let's just keep that momentum going. It's almost like the New Jersey show is the Teresa show. And then we see her fight with people and stuff. And let's downplay the husbands. Because I don't think Polly really wants to be on the show. Louis shouldn't be on the show. And Danielle's husband's too quiet. And Rachel Fuda's husband, after all this crap came out, about his name being changed to avoid being connected to criminal charges, probably won't want to be on the show anyway anymore. So let's get rid of the house husbands on The Real Housewives of New Jersey and make it about Teresa and the new girls. Anyway, that's my pitch. What do you think? That way, the Melissa fans could have their show. That would be very fun to watch the Gorgas on and see some of Joe's friends come alive, right? And the Teresa fans get to see Teresa in where her throne lives, in her domain. And we get to see it. And then we don't have to really deal with Louis Ruelas and all this crap anymore. And it's not insulting to him because all the house husbands on that show get played down. And I think the housewives will be happy because it won't jeopardize their relationships with these men anymore for being on the show. This is my solution. What do you think? All right, you guys. Like, subscribe, and I haven't said that in so long. like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Don't forget. All right. Bye now.